Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome RJ Mahadev, moderator of the IoT Energy Panel.
What I was hoping we could do today is give you a little insight into what we've been talking about in the IoT energy session. And we spent a lot of time thinking about how we can best contribute to this community, right? Because this needs to be about you. And what can we tell you that you haven't already heard? And how can we help move the ball forward? As we worked through the working group, we spent a lot of time thinking about what we wanted to do, right? We had a lot of smart people, both on the working group, as well as obviously in this room and folks that we're talking to. And we spent a lot of time thinking about, we've got to bring some new thoughts and some new ideas to the table. 3 points, I think, is all that we need to focus on. Number one, what is the big idea that we think we can influence, right? So what is the one thing that's going to change our lives that we've been discussing and working on from an energy perspective, number one. Number two, what is the unique insight or solution that we've developed around this that changed things in a fundamental way around that idea? And then number three, how do we make this relevant to all of you? So you can take sort of what we've learned, what we've seen, and our successes, and apply that in your space. It's not going to be all, great ideas and successes. There's going to be lots of lessons learned, lots of shoulda, coulda, woulda, wanted to do things different. So we do want to have that kind of conversation with you. So what I'll share with you on the next slide is sort of the 4 big ideas we've been mulling around in our heads. And I'd love to hear from you in terms of if you think that's the right idea, is that compelling to you? And are you interested in hearing what the energy segment has done around that big area? So I think that's what we want to get into with the energy working group. And in terms of sort of how we're structured, we've got Lee Mazaki, who's the SVP for Smart Grid at Duke Energy, who's one of the chairs. And we've got Russ Vanos, who's the SVP for Business Development, who's the other chair. And then between Mike Delaney and myself, we sort of round it out and keep things moving on the committee. We've really tried to get at least half the audience, half the participants to be customers. So it has to be all about the voice of the customer, how customers are using technology, and how we could help them do that more effectively. And I think, as you can see from the panel, we've been fairly successful at that. We've also tried to get a mix of companies, a mix of startups like Kai's at Bits2, and a larger, more established companies such as Itron. So we really understand the ecosystem and the value chain and how that needs to work. What are the big ideas? So the first has to do with energy management, right? So we've used energy management in a very broad sense. You don't think of utilities and you don't think of oil and gas companies as energy management companies, but that's essentially the business. They're managing energy, right? And a lot of what we've figured out effective ways to manage energy, to improve efficiency, to reduce costs, can be translated to other industries. It can be translated to manufacturing. It can be translated to building management, to facilities management, and a lot of that. So to talk about how we've cracked the code on connecting unconnected devices and enabling applications and analytics so we can let IoT flourish, and talk a little bit about sort of the advances we made there. So that's one piece, one idea. The other idea was about enabling workers, right? So as you have digital workers and the Internet of Workers, if you will, wearables, organizational design, what is it going to take to really ensure that we have the people that can help us be effective as we get to that IoT future, right? So hopefully we can work with the talent track on this in terms of really understanding how we could help change the game on that. And then we talked yesterday with Mike on the analytics track, right, around this idea of analytics. We all love the idea of analytics. We all want to have as much analytics as possible. But I think a lot of us recognize that the connection is going to be the constrained resource in all of this, right? Because I think John Chambers shows this often in terms of, Moore's law, in terms of how storage is improving efficiency, and how networking is actually the slowest of the 3. So I think network is going to be that constrained resource. And how do you do analytics in a world of constrained bandwidth, which is low power, low bandwidth? And we have some ideas around that we could share. And then the 4th idea is around the value chain. How do you manage that? I talked to Maciek about collaborating with an innovation track on that in terms of what are the startups coming in and how we work. Thank you very much for your time.